Well, hello everybody. It's an honor to introduce you to this webinar, Promoting Social Accountability in the Education Sector, Experiences from the Philippines. Today our presenters will be Joy Asaran, who is a Program Director at the School of Government Ateneo at Manila University, and as well Redempto Parafina, Executive Director at the Affiliated Network for Social Accountability in the East Asia and Pacific. Although substantial gains have been made in developing countries in the last decades in relation to children's access to education, trends in education quality have been much harder to monitor and measure. Many CCOs around the world have therefore identified the need to increase transparency and accountability in the education sector and have implemented social accountability initiatives. In this webinar, Joy Asaran from Government Watch GWatch Ateneo School of Government and Redempto Parafina, Executive Director at the Affiliated Network for Social Accountability in East Asia and the Pacific Foundation, will present two of these initiatives from Philippines, focusing on how these promoted and ensured constructive citizen and government engagement. Before we start, I just want to mention some reminders. The first one, as I mentioned before, introduce yourselves on the public chat space. For technical reasons, only the speakers will be able to use the microphones, and other microphones will be muted, please. Write your comments or questions to the speakers at any time in the chat space. And this webinar has been recorded, so you will be There will be 5 minutes break after each presentation to gather your written comments, questions, and suggestions for the speakers. And then the speakers and microphones will be muted during this break, after which the speaker will reply here to her best to all comments and questions. During this first presentation, we will have Joy Asaran, as I mentioned, is a program director at the School of Government at Ateneo Manila University. She has been involved in grassroots citizen monitoring of service delivery, procurement, and program implementation of the government since 2004. She has several published work on civil society participation and political and governance reforms in the Philippines, and writes opinion pieces about current political issues in the Philippines on a social news network site. She's an advocate of the FOI bill. Redempto Parafina, or Don, is Executive Director of the Affiliated Network for Social Accountability in East Asia and the Pacific Foundation. As an international development practitioner, he has recognized track record in civil society networking, capacity building, and advancing innovations in citizen participation in governance. With over 12 years of experience, he is consulted on the technical application of social accountability in various fields and sectors, such as education, health, public procurement, ICT, youth, children, among others. His work has spanned Cambodia, Indonesia, Mongolia, and the Philippines. He is also a senior associate at the Ateneo de Manila University School of Government, where he has spearheaded various projects, and he is a graduated student of philosophy, a Boy Scout, and a Dragon Boat paddler. So please welcome, and let's start with the interesting presentation by Joy Asaran.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. The presentation I will be giving this evening here in the Philippines, morning in some of the parts of the country, will try to capture the experience of Government Watch of the Ateneo School of Government in sustaining accountability in the education sector since 2000. Some quick facts about Government Watch. GWatch is a governance engagement program of the Ateneo School of Government, started as an anti-corruption program to a social accountability program now. It was established in 2000 as a response to a plethora of corruption cases involving high-ranking government officials. It specializes in citizen community-based or joint CSO government monitoring of programs, service delivery, and procurement. It has so far developed since 2000, pilot tested and had government, including local governments and national agencies, adopted participatory monitoring tools on specific service delivery in education, health, agriculture, water, infrastructure, environment, disaster management, and human rights. It is a partner of over 10 national government agencies, at least 10 local government units, 8 key donor institutions, and at least 30 civil society organizations. GWatch has been working in the education sector since 2001. Education has been the key sectoral engagement of GWatch. It started with citizen monitoring of service deliveries of the Department of Education in 2001 with its pioneering program called Textbook Count. This is the monitoring of textbook delivery. And then in 2005, it started the monitoring of school building projects called Bayanihang Eskwela. It then ventured into institutionalizing the capacity building of CSO procurement observers to cover big ticket procurements in the Department of Education through a project called Protect Procurement Project. And now it is trying to institutionalize an intermediary coordinative mechanism called local monitoring hubs that is supposed to enable school-based monitoring. In 2010, it has tried to localize education monitoring in Naga City. It's a city in southern Philippines. The local school board through a project called Edukasyon sa Naga sa Alinanta, and have conducted action research on school building monitoring as well as citizen engagement since 2010. Basically, the approach of GWatch promotes and strengthens transparency and accountability towards effective governance through constructive engagement between citizen organizations and government in performance monitoring. The approach is consisting of 5 key features. It uses easy-to-use tools because it tries to enable ordinary citizens. Its approach to anti-corruption is preventive and preemptive. It is a joint citizen government monitoring. Advocacy of GWatch is data and evidence-based, and monitoring is generally community-based. It follows a simple technology of identifying critical service delivery, formalizing partnership with government agencies, mapping key standards to be monitored, developing the easy-to-use monitoring tool and system, conduct of actual monitoring on the ground by citizens, and conduct of post-monitoring activities, including sharing sessions and problem-solving sessions with government officials to identify key issues and solicit response to findings of the monitoring, and finally institutionalization. GWatch has so far registered some key results and gains in its engagement in the education department. It has contributed in the efficiency, in the reduction of prices, as well as in the reduction of implementation period for pre-procurements. It also has so far a certain big amounts of procurements of services and goods, and as well as ensured that projects and programs are implemented according to standards. It has also institutionalized mechanisms for participation of civil society in transparency and accountability of the education department, systematizing the process. It also has also engaged using its monitoring findings, budget preparation, and policy making. When GWatch engaged the Department of Education for the first time in 2001, it's considered one of the most corrupt, perceived as one of the most corrupt government agencies in the country. Now it is it's a, its public trust rating has improved and continues to improve. It has also mobilized and capacitated several civil society organizations that have actually also undertaken their own social accountability initiatives and have so far capacitated and mobilized monitors on the ground. Of this, but we have tried to sustain and continue building on engaging the peculiar characteristics or context of the education governance. In the Philippines, education remains the main responsibility of the central government is centralized, and as a result, the education department is considered the largest bureaucracy in the Philippines. The spending is mainly on the personnel, but the other key spending items would be on inputs such as textbooks, classrooms, furniture. As a result, because of ever increasing population, resources are never enough. And corruption in the education department is mainly in expenditure, particularly procurement to delivery. Education governance is also plagued by the challenge of weak institutions, or what we refer to as weak state, wherein the bureaucracy is considered weak vis-a-vis political elites or pressures of political elites. Implementation of laws, particularly accountability and performance measures, is challenged. Public power serving private interests of a few, where you have public resources sometimes considered as private property. And there is also the problem of high public distrust. There are relatively many CSOs engaging in the education sector, but most of them are in the implementation. And the few who are engaging accountability face the problems of sustainability and capacity gaps. Because of this complex context of education governance in the country, GWACH engagement in education has been perennially evolving to respond to the continuing challenges of education governance. So while our engagement has been sector specific, this requires response that would address systemic issues. So our engagement from project level when we started has evolved to really governance engagement, from project-based mobilization of CSOs and citizens to institutionalization of representation and capacity development of CSOs and citizens. From main focus on efficiency, which basically refers to the right quantity and quality of goods and services delivered at the right time to the right recipients. Now we are also looking at how the systems and policies as well as mechanisms are improved so that good performance is sustained. We've been working with multiple donors, a whole array of CSOs at the national, local, and community-based. We've also worked with career bureaucrats, not just senior government officials, in response to the volatile context of the education governance. And we also work with local government units, though education governance is centralized. We've taken multiple forms of action. We still continue to monitor, do actual monitoring of procurement and service delivery, but we are also building the capacity of CSOs, local CSOs and citizens, and is also conducting action research and advocacy to boost our policy proposals and recommendations to improve systems. We've engaged different avenues, our projects specifically, and other state-led or government-led processes at the Department of Education and other related policy-making venues in relevant government agencies such as the Department of Budget Management, the Ombudsman, and the Good Governance Anti-Corruption Cluster. Our engagement has been multi-layered at the national level, at the meso intermediate level, and also at the community level. Try to continue to evolve and respond to the governance challenges posed by engaging education governance, to somehow make a dent in changing the governance context, which we think is necessary so that good performance will continue, that we will have an impact on the education outcomes. So we try to address characteristics of weak institutions, such as operationalizing and enabling the implementation of laws, by making sure that tested mechanisms to operationalize and realize transparency, accountability, and participation policies are adopted into regular programs of the department and are actually provided with resources and support. In terms of addressing bureaucracy vis-a-vis monopolized political power, political elites, we try to use constructive engagement between civil society and government as a new tool for honest bureaucrats to neutralize abuse of discretion of their political bosses. And in addressing cultural dimension of corruption, we see that the broadening of the and the deepening of government spaces accessible to ordinary people would build that ownership and would hopefully also this continued engagement would change attitude of people towards government officials and enhance appreciation of government towards role of civil society. But all of this can only be achieved if we are able to sustain our engagement. So we have put forward several sustainability elements, policy support, knowledge product and capacity, self-sustaining mechanism for flow of information, as well as self-sustaining mechanism for analysis and advocacy. But there are some key lessons to learn when it comes to sustainability. We know that we've noted that as irregularities diminish over time, which is a targeted result of monitoring, so does volunteers' right to monitor government policies. So we need to also address this. Uh, Important to take note that monitoring of monitors would be sustained if they are mobilized, capacitated, coordinated, and followed up. So there's spirit of volunteerism is there, but there's a need for support that must be addressed. Also, in sustained CSO engagement, we cannot, we should avoid bureaucratizing CSO participation. So it should not parallel processes. And it should be noted, government accountability efforts should not be constrained by CSO participation. So finally, just key points on sustainability strategy. I think one of the key lessons that we've learned in the past that we want to build on in our continuing effort to sustain accountability in the education department is that the government still has the primary mandate to ensure accountability, and that CSO's accountability efforts must therefore be viewed as corrective and supplemental to government accountability mandates. So I guess this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share our experience.
Thank you very much, Joy. And as you may hear, there are a lot of information, very interesting experience, and just invite you to write some questions. So we will give like 5 minutes break, and after it, Joy will answer your comments and very punctual questions. Thank you again, Joy.
Thank you.
Thank you, participants, for all your comments and questions. And Joy, of course, will start answering them and make comments regarding your principal.
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. These are difficult questions. Um, I'll try to answer all of the questions. Let me start by the first question from Marcos. Um, what do I mean when I say government accountability cannot be constrained by CSO participation? In the Philippines, we've actually mainstreamed CSO monitoring, civil society monitoring in some of the key processes of government. The problem with that is if that is a requirement, sometimes the absorptive capacity of CSO is cannot respond or cannot uh, respond to the demands, and that sometimes could cause inefficiency in government processes. Uh, so that's why I said the main responsibility of accountability still rests on the government, and we need to be able to really strengthen accountability mechanisms so that it will not be reliant to CSO participation to the extent that it could in fact be CSO participation could in fact lead to inefficiency. So it's more focusing on the strengthening of government accountability mechanisms as well. Um, wait, I'm missing some of the questions. Okay. And Marcus also asked about our engagement with the Office of the Ombudsman in the textbook count as well as the Bayanihan Eskwela. The Office of the Ombudsman is a partner, so they are a signatory to the Memorandum of Agreement. Um, Well, they are there as a partner. We know, of course, the mandate of the Office of the Ombudsman. So in the event that we actually get to um, discover anomalies, they are expected to be tapped to investigate those anomalies. But our approach is really primarily preemptive and preventive. So the presence there of the Ombudsman is still within that approach of prevention of corruption. Would like the Office of the, we invite Office of the Ombudsman for that purpose. But we've been partnering with the Office of the Ombudsman for education and awareness, the preventive side of anti-corruption, not only in textbook count or not only in Pioneer Eskwela, but in other initiatives of both of GWatch and as well as the Ombudsman. Okay. Mofida ask about technology. I'm sure Don could provide more answer to that. We GWatch has yet to tap information communication technology in its monitoring. But I think in the sustainability strategy that we are proposing, it could be one of the instruments that can be used to sustain, particularly the flow of information and even the processing of information. Alina asked about the critical factors for government responsiveness to CSO accountability. Um, I think it really depends on what kind of government agency or government body you are engaging. There are certain assumptions when you use social accountability. The assumption, one of the key assumptions, there is really a space for constructive engagement, meaning you can generate response from them, and you can somehow start off with something. There are champions that you can engage with that could help you broaden the space of accountability and transparency. Because access to information is very important. So you should first be able to really create that space. It's important also that this is a continuing trust building effort between the citizens and the government. The citizens have, while the citizens do not trust the government also has some reservation in engaging civil society, civil society organizations. So you need to really bridge that gap. Um, Capable and then credible CSOs. This is one important element of responsiveness of government. I think at the end of the day, if we are able to show that we know what we're talking about and that we are sincere with what we are with our effort to really strengthen governance, the government in a context wherein it is more or less it has space for democratic engagement, the government will respond to the findings of your monitoring. Another critical aspect of that is, of course, follow up. You continue to follow up. Starting an initiative. So, for example, if you have a restrictive and corrupt government, I think what became as an advantage on our part is the program is a program of a university. In most of our engagements, even not only in not in DepEd, but in other sensitive in agencies such as the Commission on Elections or even the Department of Public Works and Highways, our entry point, Commission on Human Rights, our entry point would really be in terms of action research. And because we are a program of a university, we have that kind of mandate, and the university is recognized to provide certain information. We do monitoring, and from that monitoring result, it becomes the monitoring findings. It becomes a research findings that we put forward and used to engage government agencies and respond. Textbook Count started as a monitoring initiative and as volunteers of a program of a university. We put forward findings to government officials, and they responded to this. And that's how the idea of having a monitoring initiative came about. So I think that those are some of the things that can be explored and some of the facilitating factors on our part in our engagement in the education sector. I think did I miss anything? I think I missed one. Questions? I'm Maria. What were the changes introduced in the procurement and distribution process? Well, it's really not systematized. And there was no really participation and engagement of civil society. So distribution of textbooks, for example, happen everywhere, anywhere, anytime. So we also contribute to somehow engage the department in systematizing that and incorporating citizen monitoring in the process. The change or the evolution, looking at other procurements and other service delivery. So we grant
Seems that we have some technical problems, but a few seconds, maybe. We will wait for some seconds more. If not, we will have to move this part of the answers at the end after the Parafina presentation. Well, sorry for the technical problems. Joy is trying to fix that little problem, but of course, at the end of the webinar, she's gonna be back, hopefully, to answer all your questions. So, in order to continue with this webinar promoting social accountability in education sector in Philippines, then I'm gonna start introducing again Don Parafina. So, please, if can you hear me, everyone? By the way. So I just want to make sure that that we are here and we don't have any other problem. Okay, thank you so very much, everyone, for wait. So, I introduce Don Parafina, and he's going to make a presentation about Check My School, and particularly how to operate in difficult environment like Mindanao in Philippines. Please welcome and start, Don.
Nawala ba si ano?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Yes.
I just don't understand why the slides are moving. Okay, all right. I'm going to be presenting one of the projects of ANSA East Asia Pacific on education, and this is the Check My School. As it is a social accountability initiative, uh, it consists mainly of constructive engagement and citizen monitoring as key ingredients. And this framework is very much similar to what Joy described in the GWatch presentation. The Check My School project is actually just a 4-year project, much younger than GWatch, but you can say also that the Check My School is an evolution of the GWatch type of initiative in monitoring governance programs, especially in the education sector. It also has a nationwide presence. We have a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Education for this initiative. But for this particular session, I decided to focus on the Check My Schools operation in Mindanao. This is southern part of the Philippines. I have a personal agenda here actually because we recently signed a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Education in the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. It's one region in Mindanao uh, that's autonomous and that has a special operation. It has its own Department of Education. And we also had, just finished drafting the strategic plan for that. And so this is also a venue for me to reflect on how we will go about implementing this project. So the focus of this presentation is in the question on the first slide of my PowerPoint. What enabled the Check My School to operate in a difficult environment such as Mindanao in the Philippines? Now, what do we mean by difficult area or difficult environment? In Mindanao, it is especially difficult because first, it is very far from the center in Manila. And as Joy mentioned, the Department of Education here in the Philippines is still very much centralized. And if you're in an area like Mindanao, the bureaucracy will really be, on on a very you will be on a very disadvantageous position given the kind of bureaucracy that we'll have. It will take time for you to report incidents and will also take time before you can get response. So being far from Manila is a very big disadvantage on the part of schools in Mindanao. Second, Mindanao is also prone to conflict situations, peace and order problems. ARMM especially is prone to that. because of issues related to religion, armed conflict, and the likes. And because Mindanao is also a poor region, um, probably because of that, people there claim, officials even, say that citizens are not so involved or not very participative. Even in education issues, education is already, an issue that concerns everyone. It is a universal concern, and yet less people in Mindanao get involved in it. Now, so why are we able to? How are we able to bring Check My School in Mindanao? And I guess really adaptation is a key word here. The first consideration here is we shifted from education department central program to concerns really focused on schools. So if you look at GWatch, checking at central government programs on textbook procurement, school building construction program, and even other initiatives in the Philippines, like for example, um, uh, the what they call this, the Bantay Eskwela, which is concerned about chairs and tables and furniture. These are really big ticket items from the central office, and we decided to go to the school level and focus on that. And from item specific, we also shifted to an integrated checking of school services. In a way, you can call it holistic or comprehensive rather than item specific, textbooks or school buildings, but all in one, hopefully. The second adaptation that we applied here is becoming opportunistic, meaning we broadcast the call for partnership, and whoever is willing to take on a partnership are welcome to, or is welcome to be part of this initiative. So we waited for people who are willing and able and can really commit to it. The third consideration is the need for capacity building on social accountability and the activity protocols. Social accountability is not really, it's not really a familiar practice in the local areas. And Check My School has its own system and protocols for doing its work, and so capacity building really has to happen very well. Um, the fourth consideration is decentralizing our operations. Um, because we want the organizations to really look at happenings in the school. Of course, they are the best. They are the ones in the best position to do that because they are closest to it. And so we thought that we can really allow them to do their thing based on their own judgments of the best strategy to do the activities. But we help also in the brokering of local engagements. As I said, the Check My School is governed by a Department of Education agreement, but we also encourage our partners to talk to local authorities, the local school boards, even the local government, and of course the local offices of the Department of Education, so that they can start this initiative. And finally, another way of adapting the initiative in a place like Mindanao is looking into the coordination mechanisms. And it is actually coordination through handholding. And we use the online, both online and the offline platforms here. And that's why we call our approach a blended approach. Now, you can see in this slide where we operated uh, for the Check My School activities in Mindanao. We have here uh, four NGOs and two academic institutions serving as partners in various parts of Mindanao: Bukidnon, North Cotabato, Insamis Oriental, Marawi City, Zamboanga del Sur, and other parts. In these local partnerships, we valued, of course, and we used as criteria for their selection, of course, their special interest in education, whether it is part of their program, their existing program, or as an academic institution, they could mobilize students for education-related activities. That makes it easy to mainstream social accountability and the Check My School activities in their own programming. The second criterion we used in establishing the local partnership is the established operations of the partner itself. Because Mindanao is a difficult area with various issues in conflict and security. They really need to have uh, established way of moving around the place, and that they understand the risks of initiatives like this, especially because this is an accountability initiative. The third important consideration in the partnership is the links of our partners with the education stakeholders, especially the government, uh, because this initiative will surely be controversial in various ways, starting from its concerns to whatever will come out of this initiative. They really need to be able to be they have to be persuasive as they deal with various stakeholders, especially those in the government, convincing them to to agree to be partner and be part of this initiative is a special work that they need to be able to do. Now, having established that partnership, the operations of Check My School include these activities. After launching an awareness campaign, our local partners would proceed with their volunteers to the schools, present themselves, and start validating information. This information will include enrollment, teachers, and even non-teaching personnel. They can count the textbooks, the classrooms, the computers, and even look at the budget and other aspects of the schools. And we are using certain templates to capture those information. And after the information is captured, um, they do an exit report with the principal, so that whatever information they got had been certified and prepared for possible uploading. And that will also involve a certain kind of ceremony that will close the activity in the school. Um, so what do we do with the information that the Check My School gathers? This becomes basis for feedback that will be sent to various authorities. It could be the Department of Education Central Office and other levels of the ministry, and even the local government. These feedback are also processed, and certain responses are sought so that uh, whatever problems and concerns are identified will be resolved. In some cases where the government cannot anymore be expected to respond for various reasons, they don't have budget, or it's not within their mandate or whatever, we approach private sector and NGOs and even media to help resolve the issues. So if you notice, the activity of Check My School revolves around at least three things: accessing information through data updating, sending feedback, and issue resolution. Now, this happened, we were able to do this in Mindanao uh, because primarily of the institutional support we got. And as you can see, LGU, division level, district level, and schools, our partners have established links and have secured support from these offices so that they can proceed with the activity. And as this slide tells you, it happened at various levels. And for us, it indicated the trust and the political will that we need to pursue certain issues. Uh, generated through the Check My School initiative. And of course, it enabled the free flow of feedback from the partners and from the volunteers to the schools, and from the schools back to the volunteers. Some resolutions that have been generated through this initiative include this school that was constructed in North Cotabato. Uh, this was actually led by an NGO with a special education program, and for them, the Check My School system and mechanism enabled them to really, establish the need and seek the right response to it. Another instance where we were able to generate response was this case in Pagadian, actually, in Zamboanga. This was a case of a school threatened by landslide because of a mountain that's slowly eroding. They've been reporting this case several times, but nobody's listening until we put it in the Check My School platform, and we were able to get the attention of the public through our partnership with another organization, Change.org. So I'm showing this as part of the fixed rates, so-called, because we need to somehow close the accountability loop. We do not just access information, we do not just send feedback and send comments and all those criticisms, but we also try to really resolve it jointly and in partnership with the government. Now, so what so far have we learned from this exercise, introducing Check My School to a difficult place like Mindanao? First is that in a difficult environment, even in a difficult environment such as Mindanao, social accountability is possible. But aside from capacity building, there has to be reliable local partnerships and institutional support for things and activities to really happen. Second is that proponents of this initiative must learn to adjust the social accountability program to the people and the communities and their situation, and it should not be the other way around, because it often happens that central office programs would be imposed on the locals, and they immediately want people to respond to it, but that doesn't happen. Lots of adjustments has to be done based on what the people need and what their situation requires. The third is in terms of measuring the impact. We may have generated a number of responses or resolutions, but that is still very low if you compare it to the number of feedback reports that we got. And so I'm saying that because there is tendency to really generalize on how social accountability initiatives could be measured in terms of its effectiveness. In a difficult area like Mindanao, um, the measure of effectiveness has to be adjusted to the risks that are present. Finally, one important lesson also here is that if this initiative uh, is to truly contribute to education governance, the micro-level school issues that we collect must be consolidated and translated into a policy discourse. This is still one weakness that we have in the Check My School, and hopefully, as we continue on with this initiative, we'll be able to do that. Thank you very much. I'm welcoming questions now. Hello? Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Dan. Um, we have 5 minutes break. Meantime, we will collect the questions for Don Parafina. Very brief survey before you leave the webinar. So all your questions and comments and suggestions to make this better are going to be helpful. Thank you.
Hello? All right.
Hello again, Don.
Hello.
If you want to go on, please go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. On the question of internet connection, the internet penetration here in the Philippines is only around 30%, so it's really very low. And that's actually the reason why we are using the blended approach. Um, Meaning, in cases uh, where internet penetration is not really good, or if at all computer and internet are available there, that's where the offline comes in. We are actually relying on what we call infomediaries. These are information intermediaries. They bridge the communities with low or no internet connection with the internet, uh, by giving them information and by extracting the information from them and putting it online. Uh, so that's on the internet connection, and that's somehow related to the blended approach. We make use of internet when wherever and whenever it is helpful and useful. Um, we tried using SMS, but we had some technical problem. But hopefully, uh, soon it will be more functional and effective. Now, there was also this question on. Oh, but before that, let me just again elaborate on the offline mechanism. Right now, I would say that offline is the more dominant uh, part of the mechanism of Check My School. And mostly from the presentations I gave you, those are happening offline. Visiting the schools, updating data, resolving issues through various means, writing letters, etc. So those are mostly offline, and our ideal scenario is that that will be mirrored in the online. Now, what about projects? We can say that the Check My School complements other initiatives that are looking into projects. So, Check My School is just one of the many initiatives in the Philippines on education, and so it's basically just finding that niche. Now, in some cases, the project monitoring and the school level monitoring intersect and overlap, especially when concerns are, for example, about textbooks. If the concerns are about textbooks, then we refer it to uh, project level mechanisms. And so that should also be taken care of. We should not operate independently or in isolation. It has to have a link with other project-based monitoring. Now, just to answer the one question posed once more on the factors for government responsiveness to CSO accountability mechanisms. I would cite two on top of what Joy already mentioned. There will be responsiveness on the part of the government to this kind of initiative if, one, they also own it. They are part of the process of designing it, even planning it, and to a certain extent, implementing it and assessing it. It's only through that kind of involvement by both government and civil society that trust could be built. So champions really have a big role in implementing this and making this kind of initiative a joint undertaking. The second factor is their incentive in cooperating. There has to be incentive. And one incentive, of course, is that it will make their work easier, or it will help them perform better. To some, it's not enough an incentive, but from our end, that should be incentive enough because this is, uh, a public undertaking, and to government officials and employees who are serious about their job, that should be enough an incentive. Um, some would find social accountability initiatives like this kind of a burden, and so when talking to them, it really has to be presented as something that will not, interfere in their jobs, but will actually complement it, and that should be an incentive enough for them to cooperate. Now, finally, last question on the changes introduced by schools. Actually, many of the resolutions that we have achieved did not originate from the schools and communities, although driven by the partners from the local communities. Uh, the resolution, for example, of the riffraff, the landslide problem, uh, happened because of a close coordination with national office, reporting to national media, and calling the attention of even the physical facilities and engineering division in the national office. And many other resolutions are coordinated with the national office. And this, I think, is indicative of how centralized still the Department of Education is in the Philippines. Many of the resources that are needed by the schools will still have to be coordinated with the central office. But the important thing here is that it is driven by the local groups, because we also don't want to develop dependency on this program, which is a national program. We will be proven effective in this project if this kind of initiative has been, truly decentralized, and the local people are empowered enough to use it to their advantage. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, for your questions. And if we have like to let Joy finish answering the questions due to the technical problems that we had before, please go ahead, Joy, if you want to add something.
Yes, I think I missed answering the question of Maria. What are the changes introduced in the procurement and distribution? Before textbook count and when before introducing textbook count, the delivery of textbooks actually was not systematized. So delivery happens anywhere, anytime. Uh, so there is really no system in the delivery. There's also no transparency and accountability mechanism that will allow participation of civil society and citizens. So we've introduced the change we introduced is in enabling monitoring of delivery, ensuring that the right quantity and quality of textbooks there's right quantity and quality of textbooks, the distribution of textbooks, as well as in terms of the school building projects that the projects are implemented according to standards. Um, in the case of textbook count, of course, we've institutionalized the monitoring system, and it has been adopted by DepEd as a component of the textbook delivery program. So as that happened, we branched out to other service delivery, and we tried to cover other procurement items. That's why we wanted to really institutionalize capacity building of observers, because at that time we thought bidding processes would be one of the critical areas where corruption, big ticket corruption could happen. So we wanted to look at other um, procurements as well. And we were also confronting decline in the observers, CSO observers. So we wanted to institutionalize capacity building. And even when Bayanihan Sala, school building monitoring and textbook count have been institutionalized in DepEd, um, we still confronted the problem of ensuring that you have monitoring happening at the school level, at school level, at the nationwide level. Um, so we introduce an intermediary mechanism. We call that local monitoring hubs that would capacity that enable and coordinate monitoring at school-based level. So these are the things that we do to be able to respond to uh, some of the challenges in sustaining education monitoring in the Philippines. I think that's the only question I missed. So I'm okay now, Gina.
Thank you so very much, Joy and Don. This has been an excellent webinar, and you provide us like different and very challenging examples from the Philippines. So much for joining us, and I have like a couple of announcements before you leave.
Uh,
The first
may I,
one, yes,
Gina, is that Gina or Marina? Gina,
this is Gina.
if I may also add something,
Okay, please go ahead.
I would just like to advertise that Check My School is already being replicated in Cambodia and Mongolia, and even in Indonesia. They call it Check Sekulaku. And I would like to also make an additional announcement. In December, probably December 3 to 5, we will be having a regional forum in Hong Kong on education. We call it eCamp, social accountability, uh, uh, social accountability, helping in the delivery of services, something like that. So that will be held in Hong Kong. If you're interested, please do register. The announcement will come soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. This is an opportunity as well for us and for the participants that are interested in the topic to be able um, to follow more about and to know more about these experiences. And just to remind you as well that my colleague Marine was posting some links, so you can you can consult this. And as well, don't forget to visit the GPSA Knowledge Platform. This webinar has been recorded. The link to the recording will soon be featured within the GPSA Knowledge Platform. And please stay tuned for the next GPSA webinar in October 2014 on political economy analysis. More information coming up soon in the Knowledge Platform. And please sign up for the newsletter here. Thank you so very much for your participation and attendance. Thank you.
Done.